So this is our research party video. We've been doing so much research that we are now dizzy. So when I began researching, I first went to my mentor for resources, good databases to look at online, and I was directed toward the annual review of political science, which pretty much takes all the good works that happened that year, and you guessed it, it reviews them. So I went online and I read that, and there's a search bar in it. I'm looking at voter suppression and more generally how voter ID laws affect turnout and voter efficacy here in the United States. So I searched terms like voter turnout, voter ID laws, efficacy, registration, and probably one other thing. And on the annual review of political science, I got some great resources. One in particular from a gentleman named Benjamin Highton, through whose work I got a lot more sources, and I was able to snowball and get a sort of an entire annotated bibliography's worth of great sources on all of these subjects. So it was relatively successful. It was a ton of relevant things. Of course, I had to weed through stuff that I didn't really want to deal with, like registration, because I'm more just focusing on the laws and voting, because that's when ID laws actually happen and are manifested. So I had to weed through all the irrelevant stuff. There you go.
Good job, Jack.
Thank you.
Okay, so my turn. Okay. So I'm still in the midst of going through all of my sources. I started out with the library online catalog and searched up words like medical services or like medical treatments, public policy, and I searched like those things together and like those things separately, and for the wealth of information that turned out, it didn't seem like there was a lot of correlation between the two. So it looks like I'm gonna have to filter some of these sources out and figure out which is most related to my research question. And so, meeting with my mentor yesterday, we decided that my research question was going to be something along the lines of how public policy affects medical services in various geographic locations. So I'm going to be looking at underdeserved populations and comparing medical services or medical accessibility in those populations versus somewhere that's more affluent. So like Skid Row versus Playa Vista. And so I think my next step for constructing the annotated bibliography will be to go to the library and talk to one of the librarians that my bioethics mentor referred me to, because the librarian is specialized for looking at resources for the Bioethics Institute, so I think he'll be really helpful. And that's where I am.
Cool. So I started off my research by going to my mentor, and because I am completely new to this subject, this is something I want to carry on for summer. She directed me towards specific sources and specifically a book that she told me to read, and then she recommended that I use that book and find key terms and key people that I don't necessarily know about, and then search them and then find sources that would relate to them. And basically I'm doing research on theology and history and how women influenced the transition from paganism to Christianity during the 4th century. So given that topic and given my unfamiliarity with that other than what I've been taught in honors theology, she suggested that I just kind of start a little bit more broad and then focus in on women as it goes. So some key terms that I've been searching right now are like paganism, Christianity, theology, 4th century, and woman. And it seems right now that I'm getting an abundance of sources and I'm not quite sure which ones are relevant, so I am like writing notes and then writing a little paper for my mentor to read over, and then she's going to direct me in the right path. So
Yvonne, I think it's cool that you just took what you were learning in class and developed your own project. I think that's going to be really helpful because your teacher literally taught it to you. I don't know, is your professor your mentor?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
And
that's
she's
helpful.
also the one that would be mentoring me abroad over summer
Oh, okay.
and be teaching the course there too. So it is definitely something I'm interested in. We'll just see where it goes.
Your mentor is your professor too, though.
Yeah, Jennifer Jones. And she teaches me empirical approaches. So, like, I'm sort of learning more in depth all of this stuff about research and what I am researching. So she's a really good resource. And like you said, like you're going to the library. I should probably look into resources at the library, honestly.
Yeah, you should get more primary sources if that's not what yours are.
Great. Great party, guys.